so let's pause right here. Just for a pause. When people come talking about what they are going through, that is not a good time. My auntie had that. She died.
You know her leg got cut off. You know they forgot this and the doctor gave her something and her heart stopped.
You know that doctor is a bad doctor and he did XYZ and now that lady only got one eye. We come up with the worst things to tell people.
That is not the time. Don't do that.
Let's not do that. Okay, let's go back.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Sylvia.
And it's Kanisha. And thank you for tuning in again so you can hear about this week's topic. So it is a new year, 2021.
Woo woo, we made it.
And it's a new year, but we still serve the same God. And this year we're going to continue to talk about our life, our faith, and just the things that we go through, because who's not going through something?
This is actually something that started, I guess 4 or 5 years ago around this time. Life has been a whirlwind since then.
Yes.
2020 felt like 8 years in one, so my context of time is a little bit flawed right now. But I was doing what us women do. We go to the doctor. And it was very interesting because the doctor that I typically see wasn't available. And I had the choice of seeing someone else or waiting for like weeks and weeks. And I said, we'll go see the other lady.
All right.
So I meet this new lady and she's doing the thorough examination. I'm like, she's checking stuff.
That's the type of doctor you want. Check some stuff. Don't just look at me and say, you look good.
Right. She was a little different. And I was like, probably should have been seeing you all along. Damn. She said, are you aware that your thyroid is enlarged? And I was like, no. No.
I didn't know that.
I had no idea. How was I supposed to know?
Not touching inside my throat.
No, I wasn't. I don't do this on a regular basis.
Your thyroid is in your throat.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
You want your biopsy?
But we done went from like rubbing my neck
It was progressing.
to drawing a little blood, and now you need to stick me and scrape something out. We are progressing. So this little thing, like, oh, there's something in your neck, then got all the way to lay down on the table. We need to cut you. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's. Maybe I need to talk to somebody about this. And so we get in, and he sits down, and he starts saying words I don't know. And he's sitting literally like close, like he's like right here. And that automatically.
He can't be that close now.
No.
Not with the Rona.
But when someone sits really close to you and they're talking to you like this, you're like, So he says to me, I was in a class deep. If that's done, I was like, I'm going to Google that later.
Yep. That's what that means.
And I said, so what are you basically telling me? He said, my recommendation is surgery. He said, he said, now don't freak out. And I was like,
Surgery?
He said, don't freak out. And he said, it's basically means that there's a 30% chance that it's cancer or not. Don't freak out.
Oh.
And what you need to do, is my recommendation, is that we take it out. He said, I assume that you are a young lady. You would like to, maybe have children one day and do this. And he said, but don't freak out. Because I guess he could see it in my face. And I was like,
share, subscribe.
Right now. Don't freak out. And I was like, as soon as I leave here.
Right. Lucky I ain't doing that.
So, but what was the stabilizing force is that, again, Mother Starbuck was with me. And so he was like, don't freak out. And I went like this and looked at her. And she didn't move, and so I didn't move. And then he said surgery and cancer. And I looked again, and she didn't move, and so I didn't move. But in my head, I was like, oh no. Wait a minute.
What is this?
What is going on? But they scheduled me for surgery, and that's where I want to say the spiritual trial began. Because I decided, after talking to Mother Stalwart, I talked to my pastor, and I talked to my mom, I'm going to believe God. trust God. He's going to work it out for me. And then I don't think I believed it.
Reality sets in.
It set in. Because, like, here's what happened. One, I live alone, right? So I would have a thought, and there was that conversation would just be between me and myself and I, right? And all three of us at that time was a little freaked out. So
me, myself, and I
we was all on edge. So there was no one to say it's gonna be okay, or this is what's gonna happen, or things like that. I had never really had surgery before. I didn't know a thing about thyroid cancer. Now, if you research it, you find out it's highly treatable and stuff, but you don't, who cares? Like, at that time, you just don't want it in you, right?
Right.
And people say, you know, oh, it's a very simple procedure. I've done this many times. I'm only gonna do this once, and it's new to me.
And I don't care about none of that.
I don't care, because I just don't want this to happen.
But I mean, that's the reality of it. Now granted, don't say, Kanisha, you're being overmuch. But, because I'm not saying that this is the total encompassing of it, but the scripture talks about this being a suffering way. Like, I don't know where we got to this point where we just think that when you have God in your life, it means everything is perfect and nothing happens to you because God's in my life. Now I ain't gotta worry about getting a traffic ticket. I ain't gotta worry about struggling to pay bills. I don't have to worry about health issues. I don't have to worry about, we just come up with a list of things to say, I got God in my life, I'm saved, I don't have to worry about these things, when that's not it.
No.
The thing is, I have to live life. Sin is in this world. Sin happens, and I may very well endure all these things that I just said I don't want to endure. But God is with you through it all. And the scripture speaks of his sufficiency.
Yes.
He is sufficient for whatever comes my way. So when I have my health scare, God's grace is sufficient. He's going to be there for me. I need to be still.
But then I started getting headaches. And my face hurt. Like, my face hurt. And I could not figure out what it was. I mean, all of this, it was the most agonizing pain. I've never had a headache like that before. And I realized I was grinding my teeth in my sleep.
You were stressed.
They didn't know that. So I'm praying, and I'm just like, Lord, help me get a peaceful night's sleep. Help me take care of myself. And his answer was, help thou my unbelief. And he wasn't telling me per se what was wrong with me. He was telling me what I needed to pray. And straightway, the father of the child cried out. I mean, what he needed was so important that it didn't take him a second. He didn't have, Jesus. I believe, I need this. This is important.
Right.
And he cries out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. And that really touched me because he acknowledged with whatever was in him, he believed, but if there was something else, if there was anything else in him that he wasn't aware of, and that's where I was. If we could pick our testimony, when we get to the end of life.
Lord, thank you for helping me get over this cold I had. That'd be mine. Like, I ain't gonna be nothing too crazy.
No, we wouldn't. If we could pick our testimonies when we get to the end of life, we wouldn't really have overcome much because there wouldn't have been many challenges. And that's how I was, right? Yeah, I believe God. I've always, had a safe home, and I've always had a job, and I've always had plenty to eat. Life was good. I hadn't really faced a lot of adversity, and most of the troubles I had in my life up to that point were my fault. But here I was in a situation I could not control, and I wasn't sure God could do it. I wasn't sure I was going to be okay. I wasn't because I didn't know what was going to happen and I didn't have the certainty of an outcome,
Right.
I could not say with confidence that I believed God was able. What I was thinking was he was able because he did it. But what he was saying is I'm able regardless.
Right.
And I wasn't there yet. And I didn't know till he told me.
And you know, that ties in with what we were talking about the previous week. With being connected to the vine.
Yep.
And him letting you know what you are in need of. And oh, how great it is that God cares enough about us. So where he sees us struggling, he's like, "Here, daughter, I see you struggling. Let me help you. Let me tell you this, because this is what you need.
I'm gonna send it down the vine. I need you to catch it."
Take this."
Yes. You need, Sylvia, you need to grow more faith. And people had told me that you need to believe in God. God's working on you. And I was like, yeah, I believe in God. I believe Jesus is the Son of God, and he saved me from my sins. But I didn't really believe in his power and his capability and his constant force in my life. So the Lord was showing me all of this about myself, because that unbelief was going to be a hindrance for me for the rest of my life if I didn't tackle it then. And I can say now, 5 or 6 or 4, I don't remember what it was. Years later, if I hadn't tackled unbelief then, my God, the stuff that has happened to me since, I would have been off the road a long time ago. Wouldn't be here today.
It's to keep you conditioned for your trip.
Exactly. So I really started working and studying and praying on my faith. And what I realized is that took my attention away from fear of surgery, one, because I was a little bit more concerned about my standing with the Lord at that point.
Like, go on this table, Lord.
I need to be right when they put me under.
For real.
I mean, something my pastor said was, God did not stop Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from going in the fire. He got in there with them. And that is what happens with us in our life. Sometimes, yes, God does protect us from a lot of dangers.
Yep.
But sometimes we go through something and we believe in our mind that we're by ourselves.
Yeah.
But he is in there with you. And because he was in there with them, they were able to go for a stroll burning. You know? And they walked around. And, you know, think about it. In that fire, it's not like they jumped in and jumped out. However long they were there, God was with them and protected them the entire time until they could come out. And they didn't come out until they were told they could come out, right?
And other people took note of the God in that situation.
Yes. And so however long you have to walk around in your furnace or in your burning situation or in your trial or that adversity that comes at you, if you are connected to the vine, if you are believing and trusting in God, if you are one of his children, if you are following after him, however long you were there, he is there with you.
Yes.
And he is working it so that the outcome is according to his will and it is for your good. Really, what I learned in that situation, one was I didn't believe God like I said I did. But I didn't even understand what it was.
And most of the times you don't. It's like, I know I hate to keep going back to it, but when you are connected to him, he lets you know. The scripture tells us that he don't want none of us to perish. And because he doesn't want me to perish, he's gonna help give me what I need to be successful, of good success in him.
Actually, let me, I'm looking at my raggedy Bible, y'all, because I don't want to say it wrong.
It's upside down now.
It's going through some things. It gets used, is the point.